Alright, what is up everybody? This is Alex once again with the EOT News Flash. This is our Kaladesh limited set review. These are the green cards. If you haven't already, go back and check out the white, the blue, the black, and the red. And, you know, get ready for your Kaladesh pre-release and all of the drafts that you're sure to be doing very, very soon. As always, 4-point scale. 1's the crap cards, never play. 2 are the filler, you always play because that's what your next one's going to get made out of. 3's are premium spells and creatures, and 4 are the absolute bombs. There aren't that many of them in this set, surprisingly. Obviously, there's nobody with me, so this is more just my opinion on cards. But if there's a card that you see that I'm just completely wrong on in your opinion, let me know in the comments. I love to have dialogue about what cards are good in the formats and things like that. So without further ado, Appetite for the Unnatural, the Monkey Attack. 2 and a green instant, destroy target artifact or enchantment and gain 2 life. As this is an artifact-based set, I can definitely see cards that are specifically tuned towards that specific type of card being main deckable. So I guess one at 2.25, and the life boost is pretty nice as well. And also, it's a monkey eating a Thopter. Cool. Next one we have is Armor Back Stomper, 3 green for an uncommon. It's a beast, 5/4 with trample. When it enters the battlefield, gain 5 life. Wait a second, is this Thragtusk? Man, those are days. This guy gets a 3. That's a huge body, great combat ability, and that 5 life is nothing to scoff at either. Talk about putting games out of range, being able to win. Something I mentioned before on the show previously is that I think that there is a point when it comes to life gain, and it's not so prevalent, in modern sets. We don't have a lot of massive life gain cards, but I think there is a point where you gain enough life in a game of limited where it makes it actually impossible for your opponent to win the game now. Just because some people just don't build their decks with only. They build their decks with only 20 points of damage in 9 instead of, 27 or, maybe even a little less than that in some cases. I think there is a point, and I think this guy's pushing pretty close to that threshold of things getting almost too out of reach to win the game. 3, though. Hell of a card. Next one we have is Architect of the Untamed, 2 and a green elf artificer druid. It's a 2/3 that grants you an energy whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control. So landfall, without being called landfall. You can pay 8 art energy and create a 6/6 colorless beast artifact creature token for 8 energy. Yeah, this guy is also really, really cool. Playing modern curve, there's playing energy and then playing land after landing at energy. All the other spells that grant you energy, this thing's going to go off fast, and you're going to get those beast tokens out really quickly, and you can repeat that effect as long as you have the energy. So go crazy with this guy. Solid 3. Next one we have is Armorcraft Judge. 3 and a green, 3/3 elf artificer. When it enters the battlefield, draw a card for each creature you control with a +1/+1 counter on it. Now, as you've seen already, the black cards have a really heavy theme of putting +1/+1 counters on them because of the Fabricate ability that all of them have. Green has a pretty good amount of +1/+1 counter manipulation as well, meaning this thing could draw a whole bunch of cards. So maybe you sandbag this one for a while, build up your board state, put some counters down, and then play this guy. Refill your hand that way. This guy's really, really powerful. You get a 2.5 just because it is a little dependent on your board state at the time, but you can definitely take full advantage of this guy if you build your deck right. Next one we have is Nissa showing up because she's attuned with the Aether. So 1 green sorcery to search your library for a basic land card, reveal it, put it in your hand, and shuffle your library, and get 2 energy. Solid little card right here. Gave this one a 2, just because it doesn't actually ramp you, it more just draws you a card, but the energy generation could be worth it if your deck is really hungry for it. So I could see this one going as high as a 2.5, but for now, I like it as a 2. I think it's where it needs to sit. Next one is Blossoming Defense, aka Infect. Got a new toy to play with. Boo. 1 green instant creature, target creature you control gets +2/+2 and hexproof until the end of turn. This is a great way to blow out a removal spell, pump it for a block, or to get through a blocker. Yeah, I don't like this card. It's because of what it does for modern. For limited, it's good. It's good. So don't get me wrong, this is a good card. Next one we have Bristling Hydra. 2 green, 4/3 Hydra. When it enters battlefield, you get 3 energy, and you can pay 3 energy and put a +1/+1 counter on Bristling Hydra, and it gains hexproof until the end of turn. So there we go again with the cards in green that generate the +1/+1 counters to really synergize with the rest of its color identity in this set. Something I mentioned in the white review that I forgot to mention in the previous colors is that for the most part, except for the artifact and rare and mythic energy cards, all of the cards that are in the regular or that are in the 5 colors all have the ability to pretty much use their ability the turn you play them, which is really, really cool. So I like the fact that things like Bristling Hydra can just automatically become a 5/4 with the energy that they generate. It's really, really cool. I like the fact that you don't have to really work for these. The payoff is immediate in these cases. So I like that a lot about these energy cards. So that's a really cool thing to mention right there. Next one is Commencement of Festivities. I don't know why this is a fog. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, I guess you stop all the chaos to start the party. Kaladesh people are weird, I guess. But yeah, wanted agreed to prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to players this turn. I don't like fogs in limited. 1. That's it. Next we have is Cowl Prowler. This is a 4/green worm. It's a 6/6, and that's it. 2.25. Big fat dude. Or good. Curve fill for sure. Next one we have is Creeping Mold. This is a 2/green sorcery to destroy a target artifact, enchantment, or a land. Again, as I mentioned, with Appetite for the Unnatural, there are, as with many artifacts there are in this set, cards like this do become a little bit more main deckable in that sense. Not to the point where I'm just jamming this in every deck I build. It's a 2.25 at best, but of course this is sideboard material as well. So if your opponent is playing a really heavy artifact themed deck, you bringing something like this in is completely serviceable. So I wouldn't fault you at all for playing this in your main deck, but just don't go too crazy on them. Paying 4 mana for that effect is pretty high. Next one we have is Cultivator of Blades. 3/green. It's a 1 with a Fabricate 2, so it can either put 2 counters on itself or create 2 servos. And whenever it attacks, you can have other attacking creatures get X+X+X until the end of turn, where X is Cultivator of Blades' power. That is huge. So you pay your 5 mana, get your 3/3, pump it on your next turn, swing out. You do the math. Gave this one a solid 2.5, just because it is a little bit expensive for its size. Yes, you can get a 3/3 out of it, but making the servos is almost, I wouldn't even consider an option in some cases, unless you have other ways to pump this guy up and just make your team go that much wider. So it's a bit of a challenge to really read that one, I think. So I'd like to see this card in action, actually. Next one we have is Dubious Challenge. 3/green sorcery. Look at the top 10 cards of your library. Okay. And exile up to 2 creature cards from among them. Then shuffle your library. So you're putting the cards that you did not pick back in your library. It does not read this. This card does not read very well, unfortunately. Target opponent may choose one of the exile cards you put onto and put it on the battlefield under his or control. Put the other card on the battlefield under your control. Don't play this in limited. There's nothing worth, because your opponent gets to pick first. So unless you've got like double Gear Hulk, even then that's not that good. Yeah, don't bother with this card. Leave it in the sideboard, in your trade binder, or heck, throw it away. There you go. 0, if you had to ask. Next one we have is Durable Handicraft. This card is bananas. 1/green enchantment. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may pay 1 colorless mana, or just generic. If you do, put a +1/+1 counter on that creature. For 5 and a green, you may sacrifice it and put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. Now this is a little bit like the blue card that allows you to draw cards if you're paying mana for every artifact or artificer that you bring to the battlefield. But this one's a little bit easier to pull off. And with all the manipulation that green wants to do with its +1/+1 counters, this card gets out of control very quickly. And being able to sacrifice it and pump your entire team, it's even better. But I might keep this around for longer than that, because I can just keep reusing that effect. This card is real, and I gave this one 2.5 because this is a card that will get out of control very quickly. You just have to be mindful of the fact that if you're going to be activating this ability every turn, you probably can't play on curve, so you're probably playing a 2-drop with 3 mana open to be able to pay the 1 extra to pump it, and so on and so forth. So just keep that in mind when you're playing with this card. Something worth keep remembering. Next one we have are the Elegant Edgecrafters. 4 green for a 3/4 Elf Artificer. Cannot be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less, and has Fabricate 2, 2+1/+1 counters, or 2 servos. I like pumping this guy up personally, make it as big as possible, and just start bashing in. As you've seen with a lot of Civil games you've probably played, creatures don't get very big on their own unless you're really building your deck to kind of play towards that. And if your opponent has a bunch of just, weak little 2-power creatures, this thing's just going to shred through their board and kill them very, very quickly. I like this guy a lot. 2.5, almost a 3 if it didn't cost 6 mana. Next one we have is Fairgrounds Trumpeter. 2 and a green elephant. It's a 2/2. At the beginning of each end step, if a +1/+1 counter was placed on a permanent under your control, put a +1/+1 counter on Fairgrounds Trumpeter. So if you have Durable Handicraft or any creature that has Fabricate, this guy's going to get really big really quickly. Super solid and common. 2.5 for me. Next one we have is the Girapu Guide. Girapu Guide. It's 2 and a green for a 3/2 Elf Scout. And you can pay 2 and a green to give target creature you control cannot be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less this turn. So it's kind of along the lines with Elegant Edgecrafters, but that activated ability is kind of restrictive, so I can't imagine that being activated too often. And as that, I just say it's about a 2.25 for me in that sense. Good, solid filler, and it's in a decent body as well. It can beat pretty well. Next one we have is High Spire Artisan. 2 and a green with Reach and Fabricate 1. It's a 0/3. I think this is hilarious, having a creature with no power, yet it has Reach. It can block all of these Thoppers that are going to be in this set. This guy's weird. It's just kind of a weird card. I give it a 2.25 because it can at least get a little bit bigger and makes a decently sized body for blocking and things like that, and get a little bit bigger with all the manipulation of counters that are in green. Nothing fancy, but at least it can block some Thoppers for a while. Not bad. 2.25. Next we have Hunt the Week, which I do believe is a reprint from, I believe, Dragons of Tarkir, if I'm not mistaken. Hunt the Week is a 3 green sorcery that puts a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. Then that creature fights target creature you don't control. 4 mana is a lot for a fight mechanic and a +1/+1 counter. Obviously, it's a limited card. It's at common. You don't need something super cheap at common, but still, this one's a little dubious. I'm not really a fan of this one. Gave it a 2. There are better combat tricks in this set, I think. Next one we have is Kujar Seed Sculptor. What the hell is a Kujar? 1 and a green, Elf Druid. It's a 1/2, and when it enters the battlefield, you can put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. So that's pretty sweet right there. It's on the curve, and it's going to keep pumping up your guys, especially if you draw in the late game. It could pump up a guy to make combat more favorable for you. So I like this guy a lot, especially for a 2-drop. 2.25, pretty solid. Next one we have Larger Than Life, which was the first mention of Tezzeret being on Kaladesh. I was super excited to see this card when it was first spoiled out, and the flavor text was blocked out and said we'll see this on Monday. And then on Monday, I just kind of lost my mind because Tezzeret is now on Kaladesh. Super excited to see that. But anyway, 1 and a green sorcery gives target creature +4/+4 and trample till the end of turn. Like I said, there are better combat tricks on Kaladesh, and this is one of them. Being sorcery speed is a little bit awkward, but for +4/+4, pretty solid, I think. Gave this one a 2, just because you do have to be worried about some of the bounce speed removal, and in some cases, your opponent will just take it. If the creature's not that big, you just take it. Next one we got is the Long Tusk Cub. It's a 1 and a green 2/2. It's a cat. When it deals combat damage to a player, you get 2 energy, and you can pay 2 energy and put a +1/+1 counter. So it's a little bit different from the Thriving Cycle in this set, in that it actually has to deal damage first. But since it is so low on the curve at 2 mana, more than likely able to get through at least one shot and start putting +1/+1 counters on it, and any extra energy that you actually do get just by playing the game will make this thing really, really big over the long game. I can see this thing doing a lot of damage. Definitely a fan of this guy. Gave it a solid 3. Great uncommon right here. Next one we have is Nature's Way. 1 and a green sorcery. Target creature you control gains vigilance and trample until the end of turn, and it deals damage equal to its power to target creature you don't control. So this is kind of like the one-sided fight mechanic and the removal that green's been getting as of late. The sort of damage-based removal that's been performing really well. I've been really surprised at just how good these cards are unlimited. And this one is no different. You get to get Vigilance and Trample. Like, this is a 2-mana spell. This effect is huge. Like, God, this card's nuts. It's a 3. This is premium green removal right here, people. 3. Do not pass this if you're in green. Holy cow. Now, another card that you should not pass when you're in green, or ever for that matter. Nissa Vital Force. 3 green, 5 loyalty, +1 untaps target land you can control. Until your next turn, it becomes a 5/5 elemental with haste. And it's still land. So it checks off it defends itself pretty well. It's not till the end of your turn, it's till the end of your next turn. That's when it stops being a creature. -3 returns target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. So it's a nice little regrowth effect. And the -6 is you get an emblem that reads, whenever a land enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. It starts with 5 loyalty, people. You plus this once and pop that ultimate immediately. I don't think there's a lot more use for this card. The making elemental tokens is sweet, but card drawing off this thing is insane. Nissa is amazing here. She's been good in Zendikar. She was great in Origins. She's great here in Kaladesh. I'm super excited to see what else they have her do in the future. I'm betting that at some point we will see a 4 loyalty version of a lot of these Planeswalkers we've been seeing, especially since we've been going to the home planes of a lot of them. I think it's part of the reason that Chandra does have the 4 abilities, because on her home plane, she is at her most powerful. And so I really hope we get to see this super powered version of Nissa at some point, because they are doing a lot of great things with her, and this one is no different. 4. Next one we've got Ornamental Courage. 1 green instant, give target creature +1/+3, and it untaps it. It's a sweet little combat trick, I think, especially with it being a more defensively minded trick than it is more often. So I like this card quite a bit. 2.25. Next one we have is another one of our legendary creatures. This is Ovia Pashiri, Sage Lifecrafter. It's a 1 green human artificer legendary creature. 1/2, and you can pay 2 a green and tap it, create a 1/1 colorless artifact creature token, and you can pay 4 and a green, tap it, and create an XX colorless contract artifact creature token, where X is the number of creatures you control. So you start making out little 1/1s and then making one giant construct. I think she is really, really powerful. As a 1-drop, she's going to get down really quick and just start pumping these things out. She's a little susceptible to removal, only being 2 toughness, but I think you could easily defend her with a couple of +1/+1 counters, which green is very adept at doing in this set. Solid 3 for me. I really like this card a lot. Next one we have is the Pima Outrider. These names are killing me. 2 green, 3/3 trample with Fabricate 1. Pretty solid. Definite 2.5 for me. It's a good little solid common. Great card filler. Very much like the 4-drop green human creature from Shadows of Innistrad. I can't remember the name all of a sudden, but very much in that same vein, I think. Next one we have is Riparian Tiger. 3 green, 4/4 cat. It has trample. Whenever it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. And whenever it attacks, you can pay 2 energy. And if you do, it gets +2/+2 till the end of turn. I think we found the giant cat monster from Pressure Point. This thing is monstrous. But a solid 2.25, and I definitely think as long as you have a way to generate a lot of energy, you can make this thing very, very formidable in combat and finish off your opponent very quickly, especially for a 5-mana spell. I really like this guy a lot at the midpoint on your curve. Really solid. Next one we have is Sage of Sahi? Somebody's Claim. 1 and a green, Elf Druid, 2/1, enters battlefield, get 3 energy. Solid, good way to ramp up your early game. 2.25, nothing fancy to write home about. Next one we have is Servant of the Conduit. 1 and a green, Elf Druid, whenever it enters the battlefield, you get 2 energy. You can tap it and pay 1 energy and add 1 mana of any color to your mana pool. It's a 2/2. It's surprising to see the mana acceleration in this set be tied to the energy like it is. Typically, we see even uncommon and common mana acceleration be pretty much infinite in terms of how many times you can use it over the course of a game as long as the creature's on tap. But this is pretty restrictive in that regard, which makes me kind of curious about why they decided to make that decision. But as long as you've got energy, which is very abundant in this set from the looks of it, I can't imagine that being too much of a restrictive point. But I really like this card, especially since we don't have a lot of really good mana accelerators in this set, other than this one and a couple other ones in green. So I gave this one a 2.5 just because the solid bare body and also the ability to ramp your mana as the game goes on. Next one we have is Takedown. 1 green sorcery, choose 1 to deal 4 damage to target creature with flying, or 1 damage to each creature with flying. So take down all the Thopters or 1 big dragon. Typically, I would leave this one on the sideboard if you're drafting. However, if you're in green and you're playing limited games, I can see you keeping this in your main board because there's always flyers in games of Sealed. And for the most part, I do believe that this does kill every flyer except for some of the artifact ones. So I know it kills the dragon, the rock in white. I mean, it takes care of all of them. So this is not a bad one to have in your main board just in case. It's always, even though it's just sideboarded out. Next we have is Thriving Rhino. It's a 2 and a green, 2/3 Rhino that enters the battlefield and gets 2 energy. Whenever it attacks, you may pay 2 energy and put a +1/+1 counter on it. So another one of our thriving creatures. I really like this one. It's a lot bigger than the rest of them and gets bigger much quicker than the rest of them do, even though it's a little bit more expensive. But in green, it's what you're wanting to do. So this guy got a 2.5 from me. Next one we got is Verdurous Gearhulk. 3 green, 4/4 artifact creature construct with trample. When it enters the battlefield, distribute 4 +1/+1 counters among any number of target creatures you control. So you have 2 options: make your team get bigger, make one guy get real big. Pretty straightforward. I gave it a 4 just because putting +1/+1 counters on a guy with trample and making him that much bigger is really, really good. Just don't let it get bounced. Or if it does get bounced, if your opponent's playing blue though, distribute the counters. Don't let them bounce this guy. Pro tip. Alright, moving on to our last 3 green cards, we've got Wild Wanderer. 3 to green elf druid for a 3/2 that enters the battlefield, and you may search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle your library. So this is weird. The last time we saw an ability like this was on Solemn Simulacrum, and that card was insanely good. This is no Solemn Simulacrum, and it's common mana acceleration for 4 mana. Like, this one's rough. Like, this is really, really rough in terms of where you're casting it. Typically, you want your mana acceleration at 1, 2, 3, but not 4. This is a rough one to have to deal with. But take what you can get, use it, cast it, get your mana ramp, rock and roll. As it stands, though, give it a 2.25 just because, again, it's a really expensive body for the effect that you get, but you are getting a 3/2, so you can kind of split the difference and say it's almost like a rampant growth and a 2 mana 3/2. So, look at it that way, I guess. The next one we got is Wildest Dreams. This is an XX green sorcery that allows you to return X cards from your graveyard to your hand and then exile Wildest Dreams. Something must have gone horribly wrong for you to need to spend any amount of mana to get back something from your graveyard. I just can't imagine this being playable in any capacity, sealed or draft. I gave this one a 1. If there's a way to break this, I'm sure it's out there, but man, this is rough for limited. This is another one of those rares that if you open up in your packs, you just look at it and go, not playing that. Yeah, not a good card, I don't think. Yeah, no good. And our last and probably my most favorite card in all of Kaladesh is Wily Bandar. First of all, what the hell is a Bandar? I think it's a monkey, if I had to guess. I looked it up on Google, and there was a picture of a monkey. So I'm going with that. But it's a cat monkey, which makes me think that the Simic are somewhere on Kaladesh too. Interesting thought. 1 green, 1/1 Cat Monkey, 2 and a green, and you can give it indestructible till the end of turn. So it's like Charging Badger, I guess, and Charging Badger was sweet. So there you go, Wily Bandar. It gets a 1 though. 4 for flavor because Cat Monkey, and you have the puppy monkey baby from those Mountain Dew commercials. Freaky as all hell, but still cool. And that is the last of our green cards. We have completed the 5 colors of mana here on Kaladesh. We've got the gold, the artifact, and the land cards to run through to finish out the set. If you haven't already, like I said, go back and watch the previous colors. Let me know in the comments what your favorite card in Kaladesh is. You know, what are you most excited to open up at the pre-release? What are you hoping to draft? What archetypes have you already seen and are thinking about using? You know, is there a card that you think is going to make a big impact in Standard or Modern? Let me know your thoughts on the set in general. Let me know all that on Twitter, on Facebook, and check us out every week over on MTGCast.com. Look for new episodes of the EOT Newsflash. And as always, thanks for watching, guys, and we'll be seeing you guys real soon with the rest of the set review.